Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are. Return to what you are. Return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Return again. Return again. Return to the land of your soul. Shuvah, Shuvah, Page 13.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to Temple Emanu-El. And just take a moment, turn to somebody you don't yet know and wish them a good Shabbos. Introduce yourself if you're out of town. There'll be plenty of time to play Jewish geography later at the Oneg Shabbat. We're going to invite the beautiful light of Shabbat tonight to infuse this Shabbat. First thing I'm going to ask you to do, if you have anything that might ring, to turn it off, to give yourself the Hinenu moment of being really present together for this time of reflection and of celebration of Shabbat. And we're going to invite up to light the candles the members of the Taylor and the Fisher families who will be celebrating their Benot Mitzvah tomorrow. So please join us for the lighting of the Shabbat candles on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק נר, להדליק נר של שבת.
You guys. Shabbat Shalom.
We'll continue bringing Shabbat into our bodies and into our sanctuary with the singing of Lecha Dodi, which can be found on page 22.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, enei Shabbat mekabelai, Shamor v'zachor, v'dibur echad ishmiyanu, el hamichtad Adonai echad, u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet, ve'letzilai lecha Dodi, likrat kala, enei Shabbat nekabelai, likrat Shabbat lechol v'necha, imekor habracha v'rosh v'kedem, ne'esu echad sof ma'aseh, v'machvat tekila, lecha Dodi, likrat kala, enei Shabbat Shalom, Terech Bala, Gam B'Simcha U'B'Torah, Tochem U'Nei Am Segula, Go'i Chala, Boi
Invite everybody to be seated. And before we continue with our tefillah with Shalom Aleichem, I'm going to ask you to give me a tekiah as we are entering this final week of Elul. It's traditional that we blow the shofar every day, except not on Shabbat, and it's not Shabbat exactly yet. So we're going to blow the shofar. So please give me a tekiah.
Page 24. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem lishalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Ashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We continue on page 28, and we rise together for the Baruch Hu.
can have a seat. I'm not sure what's more popular these days, yoga or downplaying the impact that yoga has on our lives. Something I hear frequently. Oh, I feel spiritual, I feel connected, but it's just yoga. It's just an exercise class. Well, what we're about to do with Ahavat Olam takes from the best of yoga practices. And I'm talking about a mantra. Sometimes we think we're practicing Judaism and it feels like it's from here up. We're just thinking and thinking and thinking. So many wonderful commentaries and histories, but sometimes it's important just to go back to that oneness. The way we might have an Om in yoga or another mantra. Tonight, we have just 4 words to meditate on. It's not one, but it's fewer than there would be. Ahava, love. Rachamim, compassion. Chesed, loving kindness. And shalom, peace.
We continue on page 34 with the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
One of the many ways to say, hi, how are you, in modern Hebrew is ma matzav. Ma means what, and hamatzav means the situation. So when we say hamatzav, ma matzav, we're asking, what's the situation, as a way to find out what's up. Matzav comes from the same root as our Torah portion this week, which is nitzavim. The root natzav means to stand or to be in place. For context, the text of our parsha opens, Atem nitzavim hayom. You stand this day, all of you, before Adonai, our God, to enter into the covenant. So matzav, situation, is really about standing. Ma matzav could mean, where do you stand? It's a much more philosophical greeting than what's up or what's going on. This reminds me of a bumper sticker I once saw on the back of a car. It said, how am I driving? I almost stopped reading there, but it actually went on. It continued, how am I driving? How does an engine even work? And how can a loving God cause such agony? How am I driving is not a question I thought would have any discussion to it beyond, you just cut me off and I'm thinking about calling this 1-800 number to say so. This ordinary bumper sticker, how am I driving, became a deep philosophical inquiry. So how am I driving? How does an engine even work? Ma matzav, what's the situation? Where do you stand, really? The Torah portion, which began, you stand this day before God, continues on to articulate that the mitzvah of enacting God's covenant isn't up in heaven, it's not on the other side of an ocean, it's not in the choir loft, or on the bima, or in the dome. It's closer than that. The Torah teaches that it's in your mouth and in your heart, beficha uvilavavcha, a mouth for speaking and eating, and a heart for loving and pumping blood. Everyone's equipped to stand before God. We have what we need. Standing before God this Shabbat in anticipation of next week's Shabbat, which also is Rosh Hashanah, our situation is urgent. There are apologies to be made and life choices to be examined. Judaism gives us a slew of procedures and techniques to navigate all of this, but who can honestly say that they're ready to undergo divine judgment? Are we supposed to be ready? Is the anticipation supposed to make us feel happy and clappy about the book of life being open, taking names? Rabbi Yaakov in Pirkei Avot would say, more precious is 1 hour in teshuvah and ma'asim tovim in this world than all of your life in the world to come. In other words, working at this notion of teshuvah, of repentance, but really the return to your soul, doing this for even an hour will make your life better than the entirety of your life in the world to come. So what's the situation? Where do you stand? Is it possible to spend an hour in teshuvah and good deeds? Is the commandment to do so really as out of reach as we might think? Or do we actually contain the power to fulfill it in our mouths and in our hearts? You already have everything you need. Standing here on this day, you have what courage, humility, and openness is required of you. And it turns out you can probably have someone explain to you how an engine works or how to do teshuvah. It's just a few logical steps. Assessing the situation, asking what's up, ma matzav, in your soul, is a really good place to start. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom, Rabbi. Yafeh, me'od. We're going to continue with those beautiful words of Torah in our hearts with the Mi Chamocha, which is found on page 40.
חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow,
in need of a prayer for healing. Rusty Holden, Patrick Powell, Peter Logan, Mallory Klungfet, Lori Paul, Rosario Aguilar, Hannah Skolnick, Moshe Cohen, Michael Ben Theodore, Danny Ben Yehuda Leib, Doug Claypool, Joy Kai, Pua Bat Avraham Vesara, Lada Bat Charlotte, Richard White, Daphne Nechama, Michael J. Graphics, Alexander Lubarsky, and Anita Barsman. If there are others that you're thinking of in need of a prayer for healing, I invite you to say their names out loud right now, quietly to yourself or at home if you're watching, before we continue.
Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap
We continue with this mood, this mode of bringing Shabbat into our souls with the Hashkivenu, which is found on page, I hope, 42. It is found on page.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. Le'hamidenu shomerenu l'chayim. Ros aleinu zukat shomecha, ros aleinu zukat shomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us daily wrong from right. Amen. Amen.
We join now on page 48. We rise together for our Amidah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach uvi agitein alecha. Adonai Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Omer Vasadim Tovim, Rekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avon v'Imaot, U'mevii Gula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Be'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol Atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Morid Atah, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Hasurim, Umegayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bar Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Mevit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Atah Chayot HaKol, Baruch Atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kedoshim v'Chol Yom Ya'alelucha Selah, Baruch Atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please take some time for your own silent reflection, and then feel free to be seated when you are complete.
Page 70. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha, Pasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha, Pasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amecha, Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
During the late Shabbat, we always have two drashot, two smaller teachings. And so tonight we had the late Shabbat at 8:30. So Rabbi Westreich and I decided we'd do this late Shabbat style and each give a very short teaching. I loved your teaching, and I loved even more what you said about Om and yoga and embodied Judaism. And it reminded me of this incredible experience I had when our dear friend, Dr. Larry Brilliant, invited me to come and lead part of Ram Dass's memorial service at the Unitarian Universalist Church in San Francisco. And what were Ram Dass's most famous words? Be here now. He didn't end up a Jewish teacher, but he started a Jewish teacher. He started a Jewish kid in the East Coast. His name was Richard Alpert, and he ended up Ram Dass. And he taught be here now. And why it reminded me of that is because there were probably 700 or 800 people at the Unitarian Church, and it was a Friday. And so I said, Shabbat Shalom, to remind everybody there's an Om in Shalom. And about 85% of the people said, Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi, back, because a lot of them were Jews who were there to remember him. And the reason it reminded me of that, the be here now, is because at this time of year during Elul, we are taught very much to be present, Hineni, ourselves and Hinenu together be present. But it also teaches us that we have this beautiful month, 28 and a half days of our lunar cycle to prepare for Rosh Hashanah. We are 7 days from the gates opening for all of us. And so I just wanted to talk a little bit about what we bring of ourselves at this time of year. And for that, I think about two beautiful stories about what we're bringing or schlepping with us as we enter this period of the Yamim Noraim, of these intense, awesome days of reflection. And they're not always easy. And the stories have to do with what happens on our journey. And we each are on a journey from birth until the next horizon, but I'm talking about the people Israel. And what I mean by that is that there's a story about brokenness and wholeness that I think is very important for us to think about at this time of year. It's taught about the time when Moses came down with the 10 Commandments, and when he came down with the first 10 Commandments, what did he see? A huge party of Israelites dancing in front of a golden calf. And he was so angry, he took the 2 tablets, and out of anger, he had been on the mountaintop receiving them, he took the 2 tablets and he threw them on the ground. Unless you believe the Mel Brooks version, where he came down with 15 commandments and he said, 10 commandments. That's a different story. But in both cases, the comedic one and the real one, they end up broken. The next story, we receive the 10 commandments again, and they are put into a holy ark, and they're taken with us on our journey. But there's a beautiful story that says that there's either one ark with both of the sets of the tablets, or there were 2 separate arks that carried also the broken tablets with the Israelites along the way. And the reason that's one of my favorite stories, or midrashim, is because it's really about us. It's really telling us that somebody went back and took the broken tablets, the shards, the pieces that were very sharp, and scooped them up and tenderly cared for them and took them and put them into another ark or into the same ark with our intact tablets, and then we carried them on our journey with us. And for me, that really is the epitome of what we do during Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It's not just be here now, although being present is very important. It's also going back. It's also honoring our ancestors and our parents and saying they also might have given us some brokenness that we've inherited, And it's up to us during this time to be forgiving of ourselves, to sift through those broken pieces that might feel hard. They might bump up against each other in some effort to become more whole every single year. So I love that teaching for us because it gives us a responsibility to ourselves, to our family members, and to the world to be much better than we have been in the year before, and to take the things we've inherited, and even if they're broken, to try and bring them together to make ourselves, our families, and this world a little bit more whole and holy. Shabbat Shalom. We continue now on page 78. We rise together for the Aleinu.
Aleinu, 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 Aleinu.
God of our ancestors, we stand before you, this open ark, and read the words, Da lifnei mi ata omed, know before whom you stand. 1 week before the gates open and we stand here for Rosh Hashanah, we think about being here now. We think about reaching back into our histories, and we think about the year ahead. May it be full of peace, may it be full of comfort, may it be full of shalom.
Aleinu, 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 v'nemar, v'haya Adonai, lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. It is at this time that we recall our loved ones, those who have yet to be laid to rest in our community, and those who we have lost in years past. We take them into our hearts and into our souls. Those in our community who have yet to be laid to rest but will later this week, Peter Avery and Renee Hirsch. And the Shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning, we remember Michael Corman, Ruth Grace West, Steve Brown, Barbara Jean Carter, Bernice Manshell, Rabbi Morris Mordechai Hirschman, Sonia Livshin Gordon, Dr. Gilbert H. Young, Barbara Newhouse Rice. And we also name those members of our community whose yahrzeits, the anniversary of their death, falls on this Shabbat. Victorine Bailey, Greta Bauer, Ben Blum, John M. Branston, John Haskell Breslar, Alice Brody, Nathan Brown, Sumner Burrows, Selma Chasen, Louis J. Cohen, Paula Crestanu, Alfredo Dinola, Henry Donner, Marion Block Edelstein, Tara Esteen, Anne Marie Erlanger, Edith Ferza, Claire Finkel, Tony Foley, Florence Ruth Friedman, Joyce Feudum, Lawrence Ginocchio, Genevieve Goodman, Leonard Goody, Earl Grenitz, Irving Halpern, Stephen Hirsch, Maury Howard, Hermine Jacobs, Barbara Kahn Gardner, Dan Keith, Janet Leibowitz, Joyce Martinez, Bertha Neiman, Matilda Farber Pearlstein, Thomas Quaintance, Dr. Ira Rashkoff, Nathan Edgar Robinson, Wilma Rogolski, Alex Reutblatt, Ruth Rolando, Jacob Rosenberg, Albert Rubin, Julia Salzman, Elizabeth Schweninger, Dagmar Searle, Bennett Siegel, Esther Centuria Sentner, Norman Shapiro, Dorothy Mitchell Shapiro, Rosa Shigalova, Michael Scheinfeld, Sue J. Siegel, William Siegel, Eleanor Koenigstein, Bruce Tech, Joseph Tonkin, Tim Van Landingham, Nora C. Ward, Otto Weiss, Edwin Zales, Dorothy Zucker-Kendall, Rabbi Leo Trepp, who was the last surviving rabbi leading a congregation in Nazi-occupied Germany, and Cantor Reuben Rinder, who served this congregation from 1913 to 1966. And if there's anyone else who is observing a yahrzeit who has recently lost someone, please feel free to say that person's name out loud. We rise now in support of all of our mourners, and we turn to page 86, and we read these words of ancient blessing together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabba, be'alma divrach rutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agalav yizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mivorach le'olam almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirchata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
At this time, as one Kehillah Kedosha, one sacred community, we pray together for peace. And to do so, I ask that you carefully close your Siddur, your prayer book, find a safe spot for it that isn't the floor. If the person next to you is okay with it, go ahead and find their shoulder with your arm. And we join together. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen.
invite Hannah and Avery up to lead us in the Kiddush and Motzi, so please join us. They will be coming Benot Mitzvah tomorrow morning, right here in the sanctuary.
Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, v'avad ratzon hihilanu. Zikaron l'maaseh Bereshit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikraye kodesh, zeher l'tziat Mitzrayim, kivanu b'charta v'tanu kidashta mikol ha'amim. Shabbat kodecha be'ahavu ratzon hinhaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai
Mekadesh Hashabbat L'chaim. Lift it up and give yourself a big slug of it. I think it's just juice. Go for it. So before we do the motzi, we want to remind everybody, you guys can take the cover off of the challah, and before we do motzi, I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, right here, is our soulful slichot service, and we invite you to join us from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock here. It is the Saturday night before Rosh Hashanah, to remind us that Rosh Hashanah is coming. And also this Sunday, Standing Together for Israeli Democracy is going to be at 2 p.m., the Unacceptable Movement, and a lot of our rabbis and congregants are going to be joining to support Israeli democracy at Chrissy Field at 2 p.m. And if you are interested in joining us for the mikvaot, the immersion into the Pacific Ocean, that's how we do it in California. 6 a.m. at Aquatic Park is the men's mikvah, and 8 a.m. at Baker Beach is the women's mikvah. So there's a lot going on preparing us for Rosh Hashanah.
And Sunday is our first day of YFE. So if you haven't signed your kids up yet for YFE, please do that. We're meeting at Star of the Sea while we're under construction. It's going to be a fabulous first day.
Yes, so let's make a motzi. I'm going to ask our Benot Mitzvah to hold the challah plate, and everyone else is going to come close to challah and come into the aisles, reach towards the challah. We're all connected.
Ready?
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.